Well, hello there, YouTube, and how is everybody doing tonight? We're going to be doing a lovely little Quinnspiracy theory tonight. I hope everybody feels okay. I'm obviously your host for tonight. I am with the Ogre, as always.
Good to see y'all. Glad to be here.
And somebody that's becoming a regular for some strange reason is Jensen Quinn.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but hello, everybody.
And we have our resident nut in for tonight, and that is the Great Moss.
Good evening and welcome. Apologies, chat.
Exactly.
Good to have you here, Moss. It really is.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace. It's nice actually seeing you and speaking. Well, it's nice speaking to you rather than seeing you, rather than just being in the chat. So it's always good. How's everybody been doing today? I know somebody's been ill most of the day today. I'm sure that they would like to carry on with that.
Yeah, what can I say? I've got a weakness for Jersey Royal new potatoes. I ate too many. I got ill. I feel like shit, but I'm here.
You ate too many what?
Jersey Royal potatoes.
What is that, Lord Quinn?
The greatest potato in the fucking universe.
All right, explain. Pretend that I'm an ignorant Yank and I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. What is that?
It's, well, you know the island of Jersey in the Channel Islands, yeah?
Okay, now yes, I do, because when you said Jersey, I automatically thought of New Jersey. So now we're talking about the little island that is in the English Channel.
Yep. They do a particular brand of potato, and to me, it is one of the greatest things in the fucking universe. I love them. They are so nice.
Okay, baked potato, fried potato, is there sour?
Boiled. Simply boiled, mate. They are absolutely fucking gorgeous. If you like your potatoes, try them one day and you will understand why I overate them and I feel sick. But hey, fuck it, it's my problem.
Cooking with a little bit of mint and have a little bit of salt on them, and a little bit of butter. You don't need anything else to eat. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Man, I've got to find out to make sure I'm typing this right. I'll just find a recipe and then like it. So tell me again. Say it again, Quinn. Just spell it out word for word.
Okay. Jersey, as in Jersey.
I got it.
Royal, Royal, new potatoes.
New potatoes.
Yep.
Okay.
I know it's stupid, but I love them and I don't give a shit.
I fucking love new potatoes. In fact, I'm looking at them now. I love them babies. Now, can I ask you, when you make them at home, do you get the new potatoes out of the can?
No, fuck that.
Never ever buy them from a can. Ever.
Okay, I'm just curious. I told you I'm a Yank. Look, I'm just going to, as I said, I don't want to fucking derail this into like the galloping gourmet. I will, because it's saying here now that Jersey Royals are actually a unique kind of new potato.
Yep.
Yes, they are. Yes, they're only grown in Jersey. Nobody else is allowed to have them.
Oh, when this ogre sees this, we're going to have to buy them. I hope they're not fucking expensive.
They're not too bad. They're more expensive than normal, but do you know what? They're fucking worth it. I'm sorry for swearing, but on that, they need it. They are that good.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I thought we could swear now that common sense was in charge.
Exactly, yes.
Do I have to go back to the no cussing rule? That's difficult for me.
No, why? No, that's just Quinn's little thing. I've never seen anybody not to swear.
All right. Thank God. So, yeah, man, you know what else I was thinking? Was that the food thing is boring. What else y'all got to talk about?
Yeah, that's
I was waiting for the segue.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Moz, we had a great conspiracy that you came up with, Common Sense Guy. I don't even care. I love this shit so much, and you can talk about it so long. I'm ready to roll.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. If we want to start off with that one, yeah, I was going to say the conspiracy theory of actually stopping white people from being white and having other races and other nationality take over the westernized values and the westernized moral systems, basically, to implement the ideas of other people, and other people saying that because multiculturalism is supposed to be the best thing since sliced fucking bread, we're not allowed to fight back, and we're not allowed to say that our morals are better or superior, and hence why we've fought and won wars to protect them. But now, not even a shot being fired, and we're losing ourselves and our nationality and our identities.
Completely agree with you. It's depressing.
So is it kind of the idea of the white genocide, where it's to chase down the whites? Is that where are we where are we at with this, Maz? I mean, what? Because I understand there is a conspiracy here in it.
I think it's a cultural genocide. I'm not so
Yes.
sure it's white people. It's just, God, these British people talk back to us. We really need to get them out so we can't, move forward with the EUF, super state, whatever it is they've got planned.
I agree with
that. Makes more sense to me, because here we have the same situation going on where we have a lot of Americans that are from Portugal and Spain, and I mean, you name it, without going down the list. We have Americans that come in all shades, but they're Americans. They like guns, they chew tobacco, they do the American shit that we do, and nobody really understands. And then we have these others that come in and say we need diversity when they're looking at a diverse group, because you can all be the same, even skin color, and be diverse ideas, whatever. But they look at this diverse group of people, the Mexican over here with the AR-15, this Cuban guy over here with a Budweiser, talking about how he loves being a Republican, and they hate it. And the only way they can stamp it out is to say that you are the wrong culture. We're going to change it.
Or, as they now are trying to push in both of my country and your country, you're fascist, you're a Nazi.
Yeah, a lot of these theories, I always try to start from the position of expanding my mind out to the size of the planet and how does it affect everyone as a whole, the Earth, essentially. And I think as humanity has grown and expanded out, we've met new neighbours and people are all getting along with each other. And the elites are going, oh, my God, we're losing control here. We need to do something.
Yeah, that would normally mean that they would force some kind of actual physical war rather than trying to use cultural identity as a way forward. I do understand your point, and there is a possibility in it. It's just, why would you trust cultural revolution, so to speak, to actually take place and lose your sense of freedom? So you'd have to force the government itself to do things and then blame it on what's going on. There'd have to be a conjunction of the two, which if you look at anything to do in at least the UK, because I follow UK politics obviously a hell of a lot more than any other, and you look at the authoritarian laws that they're coming out with, and even to a point now, they're even coming out with blasphemy laws again, that you can't make ills of and jokes at a particular religion anymore. We all know what one I mean.
Yeah.
And it's a case of there must be a two-way street to it for the conspiracy to work. And it looks like it's working. They're having the invaders come in as the foot soldiers, and they've also got the backing of their generals, which is our governments, and they're pushing it.
Yeah, I still say they're trying to start a race war.
I agree.
Are they trying to say, well, we want to impose martial law, we need to bring in controls that we can only do under certain conditions?
Oh, if you look at the way the media portray it, at this moment in time, the way the media portray white nationalism and Nazism and fascism at this moment in time, there's one around every fucking corner, apparently. There's one around every corner. You have to make sure that there ain't this, there ain't that. And it's just a case of, no, even if you were to take all of the EDL, they wouldn't even fill a fucking stadium, let alone be able to take over the fucking world or the UK.
Well, that's one of my favourite things. I've always loved how they always, any article, it's the former EDL leader, Tommy Robinson, and no one ever mentions that the reason he left is because it was getting too racist and out of hand and he didn't like it. But they always associate him with the former EDL.
Of course they do. It gives them a target to actually, well, target. Let's get blunt. There's no better word for it. As long as they've got a figurehead to focus people's attention on, that's all they care about. The truth, well, yeah, truth can be rewritten. That seems to be the new way of doing things nowadays.
Well, it's not the new way of doing it. History is always written by the victor. It's never written by the people that have failed. So history's always been written by that aspect, and it's always done by that aspect. The simple thing, though, is at this moment in time is that, as you quite rightly say, history is being rewritten, but it's not being rewritten because people have lost wars. It's because they are trying to blackwash actual English history by saying that there was black slaves, that there black slave in Roman times, that there was black Romans in Roman times in the UK, and that's just not fucking true. Not true at fucking all. Like there was black Spartans. Well, there was black Grecians that actually fought in the lands of Troy and things like that against Achilles, and that's just not fucking true.
It's ridiculous nowadays. But then again, the white people are the bad guys. Everyone else is the good guys. If you disagree with them, you're the bad guy. That seems to be the way it's going nowadays. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what they think. To be honest,
That's the beauty. That's the beauty. People are slowly waking up and going, "Look, I don't care what you call me anymore. It's wrong. I know I'm not."
Yeah, but that's it's a good thing in its way that people are waking up to go, oh, I don't really care anymore. But it's a case of at the same time that you don't just wake up and say I don't care. You have to fight against it. You have to be able to push that narrative and explain the reasons why you're speaking the way that you're speaking. For instance, a lot of people were talking about the instance of not being able to get into doctors and things like that, and blaming the government that the government's not putting enough money in. Yeah, okay, maybe that's one aspect of what's going on, but that's not the sole and it's not the root cause of it. The root cause of it is 250,000 fucking immigrants coming in constantly for the last fucking 10 years. That's the root cause of how everything's fucking up and nobody's got to get doctors or go to hospitals or things like that. And why everything's gone up and wages haven't gone up in real terms as well. Not just because of the government and economical terms. It's mainly because, unfortunately, immigrants come in and they take low-paid jobs and they're willing to work for less money. You drive the wage down. You don't drive it up by having immigration, low-skilled immigration coming in. It just doesn't work. But yet you say that to anybody and you're racist. You're a white nationalist. You're a fascist. You just don't like immigration. It's like, no, I like immigration. I like adding things to our culture. I like having a curry at the weekend. And that's just what a white nationalist would fucking say. No, that means that I would not like that, because if I was a white nationalist, I wouldn't like a fucking curry because of the people who made it, you stupid twat.
Yeah, and they conveniently forget that we've had Sikh people and Chinese people living here long before all this mentalness stuff happened, and there was no issues. People were
That's
fine
the
with it.
thing, isn't it? I mean, when we had the Hindus come over in the 80s, so to speak, nobody really batted an eyelid. Nobody really cared, simply because they integrated. They made the little temples at the end, but they integrated in society. They made shops. They produced wages. They produced stuff to the income. They didn't live off of the state. They learned the language. Yes, they can speak their own language at home and things like that, and with people they know speak theirs. It's not a problem. Nobody would say you can't. But if you can't speak the language, you can't get a job. And if you can't get a job, you're living off of the society. If you're living off society, what the fuck are you doing here? You're not an economical migrant at that point. All you're doing is leeching off of the society that's taking you in. And the fact is that you've gone across about another 10 countries to get to where you want to go, because the welfare system is the best in the UK, not anywhere else. Amazing how everybody doesn't want to leave France, how everybody wants to stay in France.
Well, here's the thought for you. I don't know if you know this, but you remember back in the day we used to have the National Front.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that the National Front, at one point, I think it's about a third of its leadership was actually Sikh? Most people don't actually realise that. They go, National Front, automatically white nationalists. No. They were British, and they were proud to be British. The colour of their skin meant nothing. And that's how it should be.
Exactly. That's the reason why I've always pushed civic nationalism. I'm not too bothered about the idea of whites and things like that. I'm not really that bothered. If you come in and you keep the culture preserved, doesn't that mean that the culture in itself is always going to be preserved? And that's just the thing with me. Integration is always going to happen. You can't stop integration. You can't stop immigration. You may be able to limit it for a while, but you can't stop it. So the purpose of immigration is to help your culture, not for your culture to help the immigration. And that's where we are at this moment in time. The roles have reversed. We're now helping the immigration to come in rather than the immigration helping our economy and helping us as a society. And that's just wrong. The government shouldn't be taking that stance or purpose, and actually realise that we actually need to look after the workers. And all you're doing by bringing in more immigrants is creating more poverty. And if you're creating more poverty and saying that the migrants are going to improve it, then all you're doing is reiterating the same story that you're actually reiterating for like the last 10 years. I'm wondering why the economic downturn is even taking a sharper decrease than what it is and has done for a long, long time. It's shocking, that, isn't it? How common sense and stuff like that always seems to work.
I will just say it's a good thing.
All I
for
got
us.
to say is
Sorry.
how you call yourself named by comments. No, I'm just fucking around. Go ahead.
I just want to say it's a good thing that at least this immigration's being handled in a sensible way and is spread out across all the countries, such as Saudi Arabia and other places. Like,
Don't forget Lebanon. Lebanon's got loads of fucking space at the minute.
and my favourite one, Hungary, who actually took in, I think it was a load of refugees from a war close by, but those refugees don't count.
No,
Does
apparently
anyone
not.
know that story?
Yeah, no, and that's the reason why they're being sanctioned a hell of a lot of money. In fact, they're actually being sanctioned the money that is actually owed to them by actually paying into it. And the EU are actually stopping the benefit, so to speak, or the return of tax that is supposed to be redistributed back to them. Same as it is for Romania and the Czech Republic and Poland.
I'm telling you, what England should do is Britain should do when we finally leave the EU, is we should turn around to the rest of them and say, look, we all know that the EU doesn't work. Why don't you come and join our Commonwealth and we will restart the Commonwealth?
I missed the video on this because my computer was fucked. The EU itself has gone out of its way at this moment in time to try to make a trade deal very, very quickly, suspectively, really quickly, with Australia and New Zealand. I wonder why they've gone to make a trade deal with them.
Gosh, I'm so surprised.
Gazumping.
Go on, man.
Yeah, they're just trying to gazump England. They want to, oh, can we make a deal with you? But when we make this deal, you've got to charge extra for Britain.
You missed the trick. You missed the trick. If they join the EU, they are then subjugated and selected by EU regulations and laws. If they agree to the trade deals, they'll be inducted into the customs union and the market. And if they're inducted into them, for us to do a deal with them, it means that we would have to be inducted into the single market and into a customs union.
Yeah, I did miss that. I just thought it was trade.
Oh no, they're devious buggers over there, I have to say. They know what they're doing, even if it's not right. They know what they're doing to screw us over.
Yep, they've been planning it for a long, long time, to the point where they've actually said that England won't be like Ireland. We won't be able, I'm paraphrasing, but we won't be able to trick them into having a second referendum and making them lose.
I think if you had a second referendum, I think that Brexit would be a landslide.
I think it will be a lot higher if it actually had a second term.
I guarantee you, in my opinion, you'd gain 4 points, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you're taking 4. That means an 8-point spread. There would be a landslide. It'd be 60-40 tops, because even some of the people that voted for to remain, they see what now is happening. They understand that these people, I mean, look, when you allow maniacs to take the reins of power, what do you expect other than a maniacal ride? There's nothing that's going to happen good. When you have a child and you're out, okay, someone comes to Common Sense Guy. In fact, I do. I come to Common Sense Guy and my boy John, let's just pretend for time's sake that he's a young man like he once was, and my little red-haired boy was running around just out of dites. And I said, hey, Common Sense, would you take care of my son for a couple days? Me and Mrs. Ogre, we would like to go out of town and enjoy ourselves unencumbered by our youth. Common Sense Guy says, yeah. Well, that night we're having dinner and we go out to buy the ingredients for dinner. And John is on the ground grabbing stuff off the shelves. Insane. We get back home. He's running around like a fucking wild if you accept madness, what the point is, let me go on with this. So I finish the point. Common Sense Guy then would be responsible for that if he said yes. Anybody in their right mind would say, look, your kid's a little wild. I'll do it, but you have to understand that my form of discipline is a little different than yours. I would never allow him to act out and cause this scene. Now, if I turn around and say, well, Common Sense, what you don't respect my child? You're not going to allow my child to express themselves in the fashion that they see fit? Could you not allow? Well, then it's on Common Sense Guy. If he says yes, he's going to have a screaming, yelling kid. We are witnessing a screaming. We are in the supermarket right now, and we have a kid running up with what are what are they called? Never mind. I was trying to think of a name of an English treaty that my wife likes so much, but I can't. It's toffee, and it's like curly cues, right? Curly whirlies. And they got they got two big hands full of curly whirlies saying, "I want my curly whirlies." Well, you're stuck with it then. Either realize that what we're seeing now is this equivalency. You allow these, with all respect, childish groups of people, i.e., Packies, Muzzies, these third world cave dwelling countries. That's all the respect I can conjure up to. I'm not saying this disrespectfully. I'm being realistic and honest. Now they're throwing the temper tantrum. They've thrown it. Listen, if you allow more in, then you don't want your culture there. And I'm glad that it's steered to. I'm going to go back to being quiet like I was. But I'm glad that we steered it in this way because it's not black against white. As I've mentioned before, common sense, I nearly got punched out in monastery school because I called an Englishman an African-American for the second time. I never called him that a third time. Andre made it very clear. He said, if you call, he was from Manchester. He's like, mate, you call me, I can't even do the accent. He told me flat out, if you call me an African-American again, I'm going to fucking hit you in the face. He's like, I'm not African. I'm not American. I'm an Englishman. These are the Englishmen that we need, folks.
Sorry, it was a song. I'm an Englishman in New York.
Yeah, well, that's it. These are the Englishmen that we need. Do we really care if our Englishmen come from Pakistan or Afghanistan or from Sudan or do we care? No, we only care in the end that they're Englishmen.
Yeah.
I mean, the Gurkhas are your most fearsome fighters. Your most fearsome warriors are Gurkhas.
Yep.
They're not English, but they swear to be English.
Yep.
And that's what counts.
Exactly. And that's the difference. The fact that most immigrants that come into the country, I saw a article before where it was around about 40% of immigrants that come in can't speak the language, and around about 40% again don't ever learn the language. Now that they are paraphrasing, but that is roughly what the figures are. I think one's 38 and I think the other one's 45. But that's the point, that if you're not even going to learn the fucking language, how are you going to adapt? How are you going to actually get a job? How are you actually going to be part of the culture that you wanted to become part of? Not unless you didn't want to become part of the culture and you just wanted particular things out of it. Because let's be honest, if I go to Japan or if I go to any other Asian country, I'm going to have to learn that language eventually. It may not be to write it, but goddamn it, I need to learn at least a little bit so I can ask for directions. Or for something stupid like, can I go to the toilet, for instance, if I'm working? Surely I've got to learn some part of the language so I can speak it a little bit. But that doesn't even happen anymore. Most people that even go to the benefit system don't even have to pass an English test to be able to get benefits. They call in fucking interpreters. That's how stupid our country is. The fact that they call in interpreters and don't force them to learn the language. The fact that they're going on benefits and housing benefit and everything else like that to pay for wherever they live. But yet our country doesn't deem it relevant enough for them to go onto an English course so they can get a job.
It's aspirations. It's aspirations. Years ago, people wanted to come to Britain because it was a better life and they wanted to be British. Now they just want the money.
Exactly.
While we're taking a piss out of the benefit system, I just want to bring up a little point that always makes me chuckle. But you expected to fill out these wonderful series of forms for you to actually go on the benefits, and one of them is, and remember this is a form, it's a written, detailed thing, are you blind?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I get the idea of asking if someone is blind, but on the form they ask, are you blind? If I was blind, I couldn't see the goddamn form to tick the goddamn box. What the unholy hell?
But in immigrant sense, you'd get in being blind because you'd have your interpreter next to you telling you what to write and where to put it in the box, and that's built a business for certain people to say, hey, immigrants, come here, we'll teach you how to do it. You just pay us a little bit of money.
Yeah, no, absolutely correct.
That just said a lot, boys. And don't get us wrong, folks. This is a conspiracy. Would you unpack that a wee bit there, Maz, or Common Sense, whoever's going to jump on that? Please, for my Yank brothers and sisters, explain how that is part of this conspiracy.
Well, sorry, no, you go first.
No, go on, mate.
No, well, I just feel as a worker within the world, I just feel like people are being told, come here anyway. You can do this, and I've seen an example of this where a gentleman turned up for an interview, and he was with his wife, and the person taking the interview said, "Right, come into the room," and his wife tried to come in, and the manager was like, "No, you're not allowed in because it's an interview situation," and his wife said, "But I'm going to translate for you." And I think the government, with the minimum I would expect from someone coming to this country is they could at least speak broken English so that I can understand them. Now that might sound selfish, but if I go to France, if I go somewhere else, whichever country I've ever been to, I've always tried to learn how to say hello, how to say good evening, and how to order a beer in their language as a minimum. When in Rome, type. Hey,
listen. Can I tell you something, Maz? The only Spanish you'll ever need to know. You ready? Tango pesos por pedazo de penocha. So tango like the dance. Tango pesos, money. Por like you pour a drink. Tango pesos por pedazo de penocha is the only real part you got to memorize because you know tango like the dance. Pesos like the money. Por pedazo de penocha. Can you say that, sir?
I'm not even going to try. But if I ever decide that I want to visit Mexico because I'd like to live in America, then I might learn it then.
It means I've got some money for a piece of pussy.
I knew it was something like that.
I was going to say, it's funny how we always learn to swear in other languages first.
Yes.
Well, that's the first thing you learn. It really is, too. That's the first thing you learn. Sorry, boys. Carry on. Crack on. I just fucked that all up. Fuck the dog. No, I really do. I've been typing it out. So, folks, so that everybody else that's not looking at the chat hears me, please let us know how you got here. Ben, Tahoe, Loafer Sheffield, Ain't Jack, Memes. I know how you got here. You're one of our brothers. But everybody that's here that hears me and hasn't just seen me send this out, let us know. We're not in any competition with anybody. I mean, Lord knows that all of our friends would never stream while we're streaming or anything like that. So we're worried more or less about the algorithm. So I did make a little video and sent it out while we were talking earlier, Common Sense Guy, and put it on my channel so I can see. I mean, I want to see what the fuck's going on because now there's 9 people here. We're not glory hounds by any stretch of the imagination. 9 is about normal, though. 9 to 20. It fluctuates between just below double digits to up to about 20. That's what we usually do in church. That's what we usually do in a cat stream. And we would like to keep it that way. We don't want to be glory hounds, but we don't want to go backwards. So let us know how you got here. Hey, boys, I got one, but I'm not going to bring it up today. I'm going to save it for next week because now I've just had too much fucking bean blossom, peach. I blame Common Sense Guy. This cider shit tastes too good. And it feels like, to quote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Pangalactic Gargle Blaster, it feels like my brains have been blasted out with a sledgehammer wrapped in gold.
Nice.
Oh, well.
Douglas Adams, of course.
Yep.
Right, okay. Just very, very quickly. Does anybody else want to continue on this vein, or should we move on to another conspiracy theory?
Okay, all right. Because I was gonna, if I pressed anybody, it would have been Mose. So if Mose has nothing else to say on it, I'm fucking done.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I've got a conspiracy theory for everybody then. The JF Kennedy assassination. What does everybody think of it?
It wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you.
Oh, wanted that.
You just can't shoot.
Well, I'm not convinced it wasn't Mr. Quinn, but has anyone ever seen 9/11 to JFK, all just a rich man's trick?
Very good documentary.
Some interesting stuff.
Very good.
If you haven't seen it, watch it.
That's deep. It's funny that you bring that one up because I don't think a lot of people have seen that documentary, Maz. And before we came on, I'm not trying to bear any secrets, but before we came on, you said something effective. I'm not big into conspiracy theory. You may not be, but you have obviously at least looked at all kinds of different sides to bring up that arcane doc. So what did you find most interesting in that one?
I will just say the whole thing, and the one point that particularly springs to mind is they talked about you've got the open car, and either side at the back you've got the special agents. Now I've seen some documentaries on these special agents, and they're pretty committed to their job. Secret Service people pretty committed to their job, and it sounds like, or it looks like, someone tells one of them to stand down, to back off from the car, and you can see the guy holding his hands out going, what, why are you telling me to do this? What's going on?
Because Jackie O shot him, and the man that told him to stand down is the one that took the revolver from her. It looks like she goes to put it in her purse, but then she hands it off to the agent that is looking like he's consoling her. Jackie Onassis blew the president's brains out.
Well, and this is why I love conspiracy theories. We're not trying to prove anything right or wrong. We're just saying, think about this.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I'm not saying I don't have any I mean, I'm saying that because I was asked what I thought about it. No, God save me. I'm bearing in mind that is what I believe. I've watched Zabrudder. You can see that she brings her hand up and bow. Now, he does get shot again, and she doesn't shoot the senator. But she definitely kills JFK in my mind. Now, I think the bigger question is why JFK was killed. He was killed dead. He did not want to get into an entanglement in a foreign war. He was beginning to bring about the greenback. He was going to bring back money backed by commodities.
Gold
specifically. Yes, we got it. Common sense. We've got the dollar, the silver dollar with his face on it that was 90% silver. They were trying to bring that back because he didn't want, look, all the coinage that I could bring up right now, this money in my wallet, this stuff in here, this is nothing. I don't know what this is. It's nothing. What means something is what else I carry in my wallet, folks. This means something. This is a certified in assay 1 gram of gold. And no matter what right now, it will buy me the same amount that 1 gram of gold would buy me on into antiquity. And just in case I need something a little bit smaller, I always carry 1/2 ounce of silver in my wallet. Because it wouldn't matter where I landed. If I had this wallet on me, I could trade with somebody in Europe. Anyway, look, man, the conspiracy went to why, and I can see common sense is chomping. I think your screen sharing, stud, or one of, I don't know, but if you want to, you can be. But it goes to why, and the why was no Vietnam War. We got Lyndon Baines Johnson in there, started the Vietnam War, did it in a fucked up way. They got a lot of people killed. Then we got right after that Nixon in, bombed the fuck out of him, did it the right way. And as soon as he was saying we're done bombing, impeached. So I don't know, man. Why was he done? Warmongers. I would say the Jews.
Yeah, see, I would say the federal government. I'd say the Federal Reserve was the actual whole and sole reason behind JFK's assassination. If you want any sort of point to that, you can have a look at Colonel Gaddafi and the reasons why they went into Libya to get rid of Colonel Gaddafi. It had something to do with trying to get the rest of Africa to use gold again. So that's
he was going with the petrodollar.
Yeah.
Common sense. I didn't know you even looked into this shit, man. One of our old co-hosts, he was anyway. I thought that everybody was oblivious to this stuff, but apparently you're not. Yeah, he hated the petrodollar. He had, as far as I know, I believe it was $8 billion in gold.
Yes,
he had it, and he was ready to back his own. He had moved out of his palace. Look, y'all let me filibuster for a while then, so I need to shut up now. So this is cool stuff, man. What do y'all think, Quinn? Anybody else other than me? The common sense. I'm sorry, boys. This is very interesting to me, obviously.
Well,
yeah, go.
All I was going to say is the one thing that I don't know. This is probably something that is well known to everybody, and I'm going to sound like a complete prat for saying it, but How many seats were there in the car with JFK? Because most people don't actually get this right.
6 or 7.
Yeah, there was 6. Most people only think it was a 4-seater. Might sound like a tiny little thing, but the point is that whenever you see the clips, you only really ever see the driving seating area and the back seating area. You don't actually get to see the middle seating area. It's just a minor point. Just wanted to bring it up.
Well, personally, and actually, Straight Sif Mail has just mentioned this a little while ago in chat. I always get the sense that JFK, for all the politician he was, he in some ways wanted to do good for the people, and he was going to turn around and start kind of out in the enslavement.
I'm sure Oka knows this more than I fucking do, but he was going to bring forth some UFO files. He was going to bring some forward about Cuba files, what was going on in Cuba, the Valley of the Pigs or whatever it was fucking called. He was going to bring forth some of those because he didn't like the way the government was doing it. The most important one was the fact that he was going to change the Federal Reserve. He was literally just about to change it into the gold standard. He literally was just about to sign the next day a proclamation that was actually able to change it and revert it back. And everything written out.
The next day.
Yes, the next day. And then Mr. Johnson, the next president,
did not do it.
You know, he cancelled it and threw it out.
Yeah. Well, let me 2 things, common sense. Number 1, check your settings and make sure that your Yeti is in control of your microphone, because for some reason it seems like, I don't know if it is or not. Just if you've already done it, just go to the gear up there above your head and make sure that where the microphone is, that you've got it set to your Yeti. It just seems all right. I don't know. Maybe it's it's probably my shit. You already know it's all fucked up. So that's why I want to make sure. So the next thing is, can you hear this?
Is repugnant. A free and open society.
No.
We are as a people.
Yes.
Inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions.
And I'm not going to go on further than that. The great JFK and his brother Bobby. When I think, look, it's not the booze either, boys, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to hold it together. But when I think of Bobby Kennedy, shot down by Sirhan, that piece of shit that I still pay to house and feed. When I think of JFK, I think of Martin Luther King. I think of Malcolm X and the men that were shot down in that decade because they were correct. It breaks my fucking heart almost a little bit more than Harry marrying that darky.
Yeah, no, I'd have to completely and utterly agree with you on that. Wow, my sound is shit. Just let me sort something out.
Ooh, you had it turned up there at the end. When you said sort something out, it sounded great.
Yep.
What about now? There we go. That's
yes. Better. Thank you, Common. Whatever you did fixed it. Now I can hear your booming, beautiful, benevolent voice.
All right, I better leave them.
my God, brother, you're beautiful. You're like I imagine the angels must be in heaven. Because you're big, man. You're big. You're cherubic is the word I was looking for. You're very cherubic.
I don't care. I got called mushroom. Not mushroom, sorry. I got called a marshmallow man from Mr. Snubnob's second copy of the stream that we did last time.
Not to your face.
No, not to my face. Afterwards, he said sorry about calling me Porky when I said I'd debate him. So that was quite interesting.
Porky? He called you Porky? Hey, he ain't exactly fucking slim.
No, not Mr. Snubnob. This was neither of them were Mr. Snubnob.
Okay, I'm glad he didn't call it because he went already far enough. What I said. Look, let's get off Snubnob. We should have him back though, and I am going to offer it out to him. And I know what you said, common sense, but I also know you. If he says he's going to come back on, you know what, mate? A lot of people play the part, pretend to play the part, but you, sir, are a true gentleman. You really are. You've proven it time and time again to me and to the greater humanity at large. So, I mean, I tell you what, man, when I think about there were other people. I'm not going to name them, but there were other people in that chat that night talking about what they wanted to do. They had a chance with this person, and what they did was not as nearly, from everything I've seen with Snub. You look, now I feel like I'm kissing his ass. If I keep going now, I'll be like, oh, look, Ogre's just kissing his co-host's ass. So I can't even say it. I'll tell you later on.
I'm spreading myself.
You did good. You know you did too. You really did. You did good. Oh, so Straight Sith Male, good to see you here. Lothar for Sheffield, good to see you here. Yeah, I can't believe Ain't Jack is here. I ain't seen him in a while. I'm telling you, a lot of these people just don't get our notifications. And it's some of our best commenters out in the bar, Common Sense. We got to get back on topic, or we'll just go on to me kissing your ass some more and talking about how cool we are for having the same people for the last year that continue to come by and say hi.
Yeah, true.
But JFK warned us. And shortly after he warned us, it was one day after that should have signed the bill that you spoke of. And it was, I wish I could see this. I don't want to misquote it. I believe he gave this very famous speech on secret societies 3 months before, whether it was his wife or who, it doesn't matter. If it was Babushka woman,
Babushka woman, I forgot about her at the time, traveling Babushka woman.
Whoever it was, Common Sense, they shot him down in public, didn't they?
Yes, then definitely. Probably, as Mr. Quinn and yourself have probably already said, it's a case of I was probably the person that was closest to them that actually shot them, and that was probably his wife.
He was right next to him. If you look at that and slow it down, you can see she brings her hand up. Boy, there's a big puff from her hand, and the other side of his head blows out. And the bullet it's the magic bullet.
It's the magic bullet.
You know, if the bullet from the school book depository hit him, that would be the most magical of magic bullets, because it would have had to do a 180-degree turn to come back and hit him on the other side of the fucking head. So, I mean, one thing for sure, though, as we've said, he's dead.
Yeah.
I think what's worse, not because one life is worth more than another, but because Bobby Kennedy was going to pick it up. What's worse is Bobby was shot down. Sirhan. And who knows, has anybody here ever heard of the polka dot dress woman?
No.
Maybe.
I wouldn't doubt it if you did. Roughly. And that is
it to do with time travel?
No. When Bobby Kennedy was shot down, Sirhan was there, but people, and you can hear it on the tape, there was 9 shots.
There was another shooting.
Yes, a woman with a polka dotted dress ran down the back stairs, and there's 5, 6 witnesses still alive. At the time, there was something like 20 witnesses that heard her screaming and saying and yelling, "We shot Bobby Kennedy. We shot Bobby Kennedy."
Yeah, the white dress with red polka dots, as far as I remember.
Yep. Yes, sir. And no one's ever spoken to that lady. Sirhan knows to this day. That's why I think they should have executed that son of a bitch, because he was not only a part of it, but he is holding back.
Exactly.
But common sense, what do you think his time in prison is like, really? I mean, I bet he's got the nicest fucking jail cell.
But he's looked after. For doing the bidding of somebody or something, some entity, I'm sure that he's well looked after. I'm sure the prison officers don't go anywhere near him, and I'm sure no other prisoners go near him without Sirhan's fucking request.
I'm thinking you're right.
After all, look how Al Capone spent his time in prison for the first 10 years.
Yeah. Well, poor Al Capone, he was just, I don't want to get off on that, but he was just, that was just tax evasion. A poor guy. He shouldn't even have been in.
I agree. The reasons why he was in there weren't correct, but
ridiculous.
Overall, he deserved to be there.
Yeah. Hard to defend that. So we had a couple others. Who else had something we were going to talk about? Common sense, if everybody's ready to move on.
Yeah, I'm ready to move on. Yeah, sure.
All right, I'll drop something. As we're talking about JFK, and let's face it, he done that little speech about going into space, blah, blah, blah. Why is nobody talking about the latest Chinese rocket that they're launching and their plan to build a base on the dark side of the moon?
Because it's the dark side of the moon and nobody knows.
And because we all know that Chinese rockets only go so far up and explode into beautiful colours.
Or they don't reach their destination because they're a bit short.
Yeah. No, but that's the thing. I mean, how is America really going to feel if China, its arch nemesis nowadays, builds the base on the moon first? That has got to piss off a few people.
There is no moon. Holy fuck. Just hey, did y'all know that if you take a thermostat and you put it out on the ground at night and you put it in the shade of the moon, so you need a full moon to do this, but you put it in the shade. So in other words, now you've got it whatever under anything where the moonlight can't hit it, and you put get a digital one that's really sensitive, put another one in the moonlight. Moonlight is 5 degrees cooler than shaded moonlight with no moonlight at night. It's 5 degrees cooler. That's significant. The moon is throwing off cold, folks. Ask yourself, have you ever reflected sunlight off of a surface and the reflected sunlight was not warm? I will hold up this magnifying glass and ask you that question again if I need to.
I'll stab at this, if you like, from a physics point of view. And
God, here we go. Carry on, Mr. Science.
I'm going to say that the light we see from the moon is only reflected from the sun. And because it's reflected from the moon, it's taken longer to get there than hitting the Earth. And as it's reflected back, it cools down.
But it cools down?
Well, no, the distance makes it cooler.
But it cools down.
Considering it's in space.
So I want you to hear it again. The light that's allegedly reflected from the sun, from the moon, it would cool down the ambient air as opposed to not being hit by moon rays.
It's a case of if you take a beach ball and a torch and it's the difference of why in the summer it's hot on the Earth and why in the winter it's cooler. Because in the summer, if you take a beach ball and draw England on it and you shine the torch directly on England, it's very focused, a little round beam, which is hot. But 6 months later, when the Earth's tilted away, that beam is stretched out a little bit. So the actual power of the sun is spread out over a vaster area, making it cooler. And I'm suggesting that the light reflected from the moon that comes back, because of the extra distance, is stretched out over a little bigger area.
All right, let's move on. Because common sense, if I stick here, you know what I'll start talking about. What I just heard, it was like, okay. So that makes sense, I guess. That was a good answer, and I'm not going to refute it. So what else was there? Hey, I do have one. I did have one.
Go on.
Well, when I think about the royal wedding, which we're not going to really talk about right now, I'm just going to say, when I think about the royal wedding, whatever your opinion was, if you think it was the most beautiful, diverse thing you've ever seen, there's a darky in there, and they got a black preacher talking about hot dogs, and I don't know what, I know that lip sync thing was brilliant, but whatever he's talking about. And so it's the most beautiful thing. Or you think to yourself, well, maybe okay. Underneath the Queen's throne, as I mentioned in the pre-chat, there is a stone. It's close to a meter. It's not quite a meter. It's like 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet square. A stone underneath her throne. And they do say that is the rock, which would be an awful large rock when you think about it, that Jacob, we are climbing Jacob's ladder. Everybody knows that, right? Soldiers, Jacob's ladder. And no matter who you are, you probably have heard that fable from the Bible. So they say that's that rock. It came from Jacob's ladder. Well, it turns out from some research that I've done that stone actually is a cornerstone of one of the first pyramids, and that it's from the lineage of Ptolemy. Come on, chat. I'm thinking one of my panel will know, but come on, chat, if they don't know. Ptolemy. Who was a Ptolemy? Who was a famous Ptolemy? Can anybody tell me?
Okay, I'm an idiot. I'll say no to that. I can't think of one right now.
One of her boyfriend's name was Mark Antony.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Well, I know who Ptolemy means to me, but I could be pronouncing the name incorrectly and be on completely the wrong track.
Well, what's that, Moss?
He was like an astronomer who believed, to me at least, that the the universe revolved around the Earth, I think it is, or maybe the person just before him.
Now, the Ptolemy bloodline is from Egypt.
Right, yeah.
And the Ptolemy that I was hoping that most people would know would be Cleopatra. She was one of the last Ptolemies and had Mark Antony. So here's the point. As I watch what happened the other day, it did make me feel not so great. But what's the difference? Is that as much as I even said it earlier, boys, I love Queen Elizabeth. I venerate her above all human beings on earth. That's just a simple fact. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I love the woman. The last, in my mind, the last true monarch on this earth. But what is her bloodline? I mean, it's Saxe-Gotha. She's German, some people would say, but not necessarily German. She may be Egyptian.
Yeah. They never said that Cleopatra was a Egyptian, did they? They said she was a crossbreed between
aliens.
No, she wasn't even to do with that.
Yes. That's what they said, though, common sense. They said she was a crossbreed. What'd you say, Mose? Between what?
Aliens. Everything comes down to aliens for me.
Anubis. They worshipped Anubis. They worshipped a man with a dog head that they said was an actual deity that people had seen. Who am I to say?
What deities he's for?
Horus, the great hippo god. You know, I mean, these things, were they real?
Horus had a bird's head, not a...
I'm sorry, bird's head. Bird's head, yes. Sorry.
Right.
In fact, the hippo was, oh my goodness, I might have to actually Google it right now.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Now you said it.
No, let me, I will think of it. Carry on. I'll think of it before it's over. I'm not going to Google this. I'm going to think of it. I'll keep my hands where you can see them.
Well, for your actual question, when you said, or could there something like that happen? If you look at Indian hieroglyphics, so to speak, about in the Hindu temples, besides obviously the spaceship battles that they actually have depicted actually in the temples and actually written down in their actual version of Bible for Hindus.
Osiris. Sorry, Osiris. Carry on. Osiris.
I thought he was the god of sun.
But he's the hippo god. It's Cyrus and Osiris. Cyrus would be the crocodile, and Osiris would be the hippo. Carry on.
Yeah, because you were saying obviously about the heads and everything else like that. In the Indian theology, so to speak, they talk about aliens that were coming down, or gods rather, coming down and actually being able to genetically slice different people and actually put people with lions' heads, camels' bodies. And if you look at Ganesh, Ganesh is actually made by what's the fucking
sewing himself back together. That was the Epic of Gilgamesh is what you're talking about, right?
No, I'm not sure about that one.
No, carry on. So Ganesh was made by putting several things together to create.
I think it was Shira, the god of destruction. I think it was her son. And she actually supposedly genetically made him to have the body of a human with extra arms and the head of an elephant. And this is all supposed to be written down in their version of the Bible. As I said before, you also have it with genetical slicing that's written down in the Bible that had nothing to do with any form of God or deity or whatever, that was actually supposed to be running around and actually be hunted and depicted in their version of the Bible. So it is very possible that there is a form of genetic slicing.
And I'm getting some questions out here. Let me quickly answer this because I do know about this. Basically the statement was thought Ra was the sun god. Okay, you have Cyrus and Osiris, and they are the actual things. And then you have Set and Ra. Okay, and what I need you to think about is Diana pulling the moon across the sky. If hopefully y'all know your mythoses. So what I'm saying is you think about Diana and the moon. Diana is not the moon. So when we think about Osiris and Cyrus and Set and Ra, we have to consider that Set and Ra are the sun and moon. No, That's Cyrus and Osiris. Set and Ra are the actual defenders of, much like Diana pulled the moon across the sky. So we do have, you have to put Cyrus with Ra and Osiris with Set. Hopefully that's understood. I'm not going to go deeper into that because it will just seem like a geek fest.
But no, that's what I'm saying. I do think that if you look at ancient texts and things like that, like the same people, even the Aztecs believed in a form of genetic slicing, in different forms of animals coming together and forming different entities. It's the same for Indian, as I said, and it's the same for Egyptians. So it's very weird that those three very old civilizations would think almost exactly the same from different parts of the fucking world as well.
One word, Atlantis.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude, I had to say it.
Yeah, I know. There's also supposed to be a whole continent that's supposed to be in between India and the sub-Asian continent, as in Taiwan and all that sort of place.
Well, I would still say that the bigger thing that we need to think about as this goes off into tentacles, hopefully everybody's impressed by our knowledge, but would it matter, Harry? No, I'm not happy. I didn't look like the Queen was happy, but in the end, there's a bigger net going out from the royal family. Whether you believe it goes back to the Ptolemies, Saxe-Gotha, whether you think they're Germans or they're Austrians that have invaded or whatever. In the end, it's not so much are they related to aliens, but it's are they related to aliens? I mean, that's what it comes down to. No, I mean it. I know I said that fucked up in a fucked up way, but I don't know what. That's all I can say is it's like, wow. Because, you know, did the Queen look at her that way because she was a darky come into the throne room, or because she wasn't of their kind?
Oh, it's a possibility. I mean, it could be a case of it not being their kind. And if anybody wants to know, we're going into David Icke territory now. So we're going even worse. We're actually even thinking the moon is there, but it's an egg.
If we're doing that, I'd like to ask the panel a question afterwards. Just an idea.
Sure. Yeah, so now we're going into David Icke territory where all major leaders, including Barack Obama, and I would suppose that he would technically say even Donald Trump now, he would say that he's been replaced, so to speak, if we were going by his theologies, are all complete and utter reptiles. And anybody that joins the elite, including people like Beyonce and a couple of other people that have apparently sold their souls and things like that, that they're all apparently reptiles. Now, I say apparently because these are some conspiracy theories that I don't necessarily believe in, but the idea themselves are interesting to talk about, and that's what we're here for. But that being said, if we actually look at it from that point of view and actually think, oh, it's another kind coming into our versions of life, so to speak, it'd be something like we would consider bestiality, wouldn't it? Which in itself, there's a conspiracy theory going very, very far back, where Diana was supposed to have, Diana, Princess of Wales, not the moon puller, but Diana, Princess of Wales, actually had an affair with a chap called James Hewitt. And that chap, James Hewitt, looked surprisingly like Prince Harry. And for me, I think it's very, very interesting on that point, because he does not look like Prince William, very weirdly. But more importantly, it's been, 3-4 months since they've been together? This seems like a forced marriage, if you want my honest opinion on it. It's a forced marriage for a particular reason. Now, I don't know what the particular reason is. I suppose it could be a sham to try and say that they're becoming more multicultural, sorry. Or it could be a case of they actually fell in love that quickly and decided to get married.
Rubbish.
But, yeah, I was just about to say that. But if you look at Prince Harry's, should we say,
track record
of friends that he's had, he normally stays longer than 3 months with them, and he normally gets rid of them. And I'm sorry to say that they're a hell of a lot more prettier than what Megan is and was. And you also have to remember that she's coming up to, what, 38 now? Or she is 38? I can't remember. I think she's either coming up to 38 or she is 38. She's not going to be really able to produce any children. And the idea of being a feminist and everything else like that and pushing this rhetoric of being this and that. And I don't know, it seems like a marriage of opportunity rather than a marriage of love. It seems like an old style version of a forced marriage.
Yeah, to me, I agree with what you're saying. To me, I think it is something they're trying to interject. And I don't know if everyone's seen it, but that video in Discord earlier, the bad subtitles lip reading video, all I can see from her is an actress in a sitcom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't argue that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Lothar Sheffield corrected me. It's not James Hewitt. It's Harry Hewitt. Oh, or is it? No, he's taking the
No,
piss.
he's saying he's Harry.
He's taking the piss. It's fine. It's fine. Carry on, please. I've drunk too much already, apparently.
Well, yeah. Then, if are you full on this subject? Do you want to continue? Because I've still got this idea that I'd like to ask you about.
Go ahead.
It depends. It depends. Hang on. It depends if Hogan wants to carry on or not, because I know he's quite interested in this sort of stuff.
No, I think he's ready. Looking at his avatar.
No, I was muted because I'm eating baby back ribs and my fucking fingers are covered in barbecue and grease. No, I'm fine. Carry on.
I don't want to see your keyboard. But yeah, it's talking about aliens and stuff like that. I can remember years ago, a friend of mine, he suggested this idea, and I've always just been open to every idea, and I don't care how crazy it is. Just tell me it. We'll think it through. And that's why I love this channel. You'll get logical, sensible answers from it.
Sometimes.
Bearing that in mind, now I have to give you my idea. What if, talking about aliens, what if you imagine back in the old days where England decided that what they were going to do with all their criminals is ship them off to Australia, essentially imprison them there, shove them over there. We don't like that. What if in the universe there are multiple aliens and they do exactly the same thing, but they're so advanced that they, when a specific alien commits a crime, they take their souls, ship them off into a human body onto the planet Earth, and we're all here just to do our time, do our sentence, and then be released back into the universe.
All right, L. Ron Hubbard.
Yep. Well,
no, it's an interesting concept.
I was just fucking with you. You know I like this idea.
It is a very interesting concept, actually, because then you could argue that it's an idea of, say, like an ant farm, for instance, where you put everything together and you force everybody in together. So when you first integrated into the actual idea of the prison, you're born, you have your family and everything else like that, but there's just all illusions and things like that have been put into, the world in itself. But then you have the idea of actually finishing off your sentence. Some people finish their sentence early, and some people finish their sentence late, which correlates into the idea of death and passing on. So it is an idea that could quite easily be worked into the ethos of actually life in itself. The fact that the trial and tribulations of life could be the fact of what punishment you're deemed to have. And the fact is, if you're actually half decent and you did something like, I don't know, money laundering, then you become rich or something like that in life. So there are aspects that you could draw from it.
Ben Tahoe's had an interesting suggestion. What if we're nothing more than a food planet? Wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. There are an awful lot of sci-fi shows that actually have Earth just as, well, basically a crop to feed some aliens.
I like that, Quinn, because actually I've sometimes thought to myself, what if these elites that are troubling down on us, what if there was actually alien life, and alien life came along and said, well, we want your water, and then humans who can't leave the planet, obviously, as we can't get away from it, we've turned around and said, and this is the reason that nuclear weapons were created. Well, we're fighting back against you. You can try and take us over, but we will raise this planet to the ground with nuclear weapons. Leave us alone.
Could be, but I'm going to quickly go back to Ben Tejo's, Ben's point. I would say that it's a really good idea and it does make sense in some aspects, but then you have to take into account the fact that the population growth of the planet in itself is exponentially increasing every year. Now, if it was a case of they were eating us, then surely it would either be leveled out or it would be slowly decreasing.
Yeah, I can see your logic behind that. Unless, of course, you start looking at the way humanity is with its overbreeding of its food sources on this planet. Perhaps we're copying their basic idea. I mean, hell, I'm probably wrong, and I'm happy to admit this. I'm just suggesting, what if the possibility is there and we are just a food source?
No, I do completely agree with you that there is a possibility for it. But if you look at it from an aspect of farmers, if farmers only got capacity to be able to farm for 20 cows and he has 21 cows, he sells that cow. He doesn't keep it. He doesn't keep it, meaning that he has to keep the population to a set number or nigh on as close as possible. Now, just because you have a planet, you still have to keep to that tradition and that logic, because otherwise you have too much, and that means that you wouldn't be able to create enough money or you wouldn't be able to create any sort of profit from it. Now, again, that's also assuming that they go on a profit-based quota system, for instance. But even if they don't, it still comes on a barter system quota. So it means that if you've got a lesser of a commodity, it means it's worth more. So why would you, as anybody that's trying to either sell or to barter, why would you let the population grow to such a number where it's almost worthless?
Maybe we don't know how many species of aliens are out there that we're supposedly trying to feed. Maybe the Earth on its own is just not enough.
But then it goes back to my other point. If there's tons of aliens that are eating us, then our population would deteriorate. It would shrink.
Funnily enough, Ben actually gave a suggestion on that. Just again, it's all the old what ifs, but we've got to remember that we're assuming that these aliens can travel to us at what we would define a reasonable time. For all we know, their harvest ship is on the way, but it ain't here yet. And unfortunately, humanity's done what it does really well and has overbred. It just means when they finally get here to harvest us, they're going to be sitting there going, woohoo!
Yeah. Slightly on the other thing, when my friend mentioned this to me, okay, I'm an alien, I'm in prison. Why do all the good people die young? And he just said, time off for good behavior.
Yeah, I agree with your premise on the actual prison thing itself. That's why I also said that's why everybody dies at different times. So I do understand that the premise for the prison idea that does actually work with our conceptions of life. Just from a what'd be the word?
Metaphysical, maybe, or something like that.
No, philosophical. Philosophical. That's not a word.
Philosophical.
That's the one. From that word.
Man, now I want another fucking cider.
But from that word's point is a case of, you can put the ideas into place and you can probably extract and extrapolate the ideas and put them into practice. But it's a case of then you have to explain how people are rich, then you have to explain why some people are poor. You have to explain why some poor people are really good and happy lives and how some rich people have really shit lives. There's too much diversity, to use the left's point, that actually completely and utterly destroys the idea of a prison planet, or even the idea of the prison planet in this instance.
I think, or the way I looked at it is, it depended on your sentence. Some people have done harsh crimes, some people have done lesser crimes, and you're treated accordingly. But we're all, if you want to call it a soul, I know that's not the right thing. That's the way I would address it. All our souls are put on this planet, and individually we have to learn our own lesson. And when we have learned our own lesson and atoned for our own crime, whether I had to be more compassionate or more forceful or whatever it was, when I've learned it individually, that's when I get released back into the universal society.
Release what, like a salmon back into the wild? What do you mean release?
Yeah. It's like, let's say I come from Vulcan. Then my body will be put back in its normal, my soul will be put back in its normal Vulcan body, and I would have learnt my lesson and treat people better in that perspective.
I wish that what could happen would be just that it was like what Quinn, sorry, Maz, you were saying that maybe we did get sent here, and if so, that if I wasn't acceptable to this society, well, then they'd send me to a society where I was acceptable.
Well, no, Mr. Ogre, you've been sent here to learn your lesson in life, and your lesson in life might be
I got that
preach.
part, but I ain't fucking learned it. I got that part.
That's why you're still here, because you've not been released.
Okay, all right.
You haven't learned it well enough.
I'm fitting to get released. I'm gonna do a fucking bong ripper. This headband's gonna release my ass. No, watch this one. This one's for you, Maz.
That one argument has a problem, though. Does that mean that everyone that commits suicide is actually doing the right thing?
That's a good point.
Just, something to think about. Your own argument actually says that suicide is the right thing to do.
Because then
if you commit suicide, do you end up in solitary confinement until you go back in and relearn?
Oh, so what? You're God
the tumbling argument. No, I'm not God. The universe.
You're making the rules. You just keep making the rules as we go along. You just keep
universe makes the rules.
Well, what? There's some rule. So there's a universe that says if you commit suicide, you sound like Catholic.
Yeah,
the Catholics say you go to purgatory when you do that. Well, I don't anyway.
In some ways, my point is, why is my argument any less worthy than any other religion?
It's not. It's not. I believe when you die, if you're a decent human being and you keep your word, whether it be on the internet or in real life, if you can shake a man's hand, look him square in the eye, tell him what you are, say, hey, I'm a dickhead, but I'll be a loyal friend, whatever the case may be. If you live by Lord Quinn's 3 commandments, I think there might have been 4, but I like the first 3. If you live by his 3, yeah, I know I added the 4th one, but if you live by Lord Quinn's 3 commandments, well, you will die and you will go to Elysium, where you will never die again. You'll drink honey wine from a horn and get blowjobs from the hottest Scandinavian bitches that ever lived, while they rim you, tweak your nipples, and tell you that you are a god.
That's the biggest argument I've ever heard for different dimensions.
You're welcome.
Good one, right? This is a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one.
Hey man, you want. Have you ever seen some of them hot-looking Scandinavians that you just like? I'd like her to tongue my asshole.
I have. It's just from my logical sense and logical brain, I just don't see where we go after we die.
Oh.
So are you?
We don't know. And the point. That's why common sense. That was the point of my diatribe there. That listen, I don't truly believe what I just said. I've said it many times, but I do have my own idea of heaven. You can look at the scriptures, the Bible, the Jewish Bible conjoined with the Christian Bible, the Old and New Testament. You could see what my idea of heaven would be. The tree of life, the river of, the whole 9 yards, the New Jerusalem, the 12 gates cut out of pearls, the whole 9 yards, man. 12 foundations of granite, gold, silver, onyx, the whole 9 yards. But that is crazy, right? I mean, that sounds crazy to you all.
Yes.
So because that sounds crazy, what I will tell you is that I believe there is an extraordinary world that awaits me. Who cares if it's fucking true or not, you fucking morons? The whole idea behind by holding on to that is that now I don't really sit and think about dying all the time. And when I do, when it comes up in my mind, when it's like, oh, am I having a heart attack? Oh my God, whatever. It's going to be a better place when I go anyway. I'm not going to go on anymore. Who cares if we end? Who cares if it's heaven, hell? Who cares? I tell myself what I believe that's been passed down through my family that helps me get through the day.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe, my friend. There's just one problem. Sorry, there's just one fucking problem to that. Is the fact that maybe you're not the one preaching, but there are so many people that are preaching to other people saying that they need to believe this.
But they do need to believe that. The only problem I have is that a lot of preachers say this is the only thing you could believe. The God that I serve would say common sense that there are other ways you can find peace if you have faith in those things and you have a commitment to those things. Does that make sense?
No, it makes completely no sense. It still doesn't mean that I would believe, and I hate the fact that some people force you to believe in those type of stuff. If you don't,
because there lies the problem with what you said to start with, sir, is that some folks would be like, and you hear the end argument is always what common sense. It's like, well, when you're burning in hell and I'm in heaven. I mean, come on, man. You know, that's not an argument. And we all, the end result, brother, is we all have our own mythos. I hope common sense that you find one for yourself, even if it's that when I go, poof. Therefore, I would like to leave the best footprint possible while I'm here, so that when I poof, at least what I've left behind will be good to society. And you've proven you want to do that.
Yep.
So no matter what it is, we have to hold firm to something. And look, I've went on a long time. Maz, producer Quinn, am I wrong? Do you fucking people is someone going to tell me that they're atheists to the point that they don't even have anything that they hang on to for the afterlife?
Yeah,
I'm going to agree with you 100%. I believe there are two different types of religion. There's one that's been created to control people and garner money up the ranks to the rich people. And there's the one that my parents gave me myself. I believe in what I believe, and I'll be a decent person to people because I know it's the right thing to do.
Okay, and I'll throw my 2 pence in just to really bring this conversation down.
I love that too, Maz. That was beautiful.
Please remember this. If you actually put a gun to someone's head with the full intention of killing them, 99% of them are going to be going, oh God, please don't kill me. Oh God, please don't kill me. At that point...
Is that just trained language?
Thank you. Because I was going to say, Quinn, does that go back to there are no atheists at sea argument?
True. Just, as I say, the other one is, of course, while in the middle of sex, there's the oh God part. So, yes, you... exactly.
They're still trying.
I'll tell you this, though, Quinn, there is a certain faction of people that after they've been in the situation you're talking about, they actually do have a life-changing... but I'm going to also lean towards what Maz is saying and say that, look, it doesn't matter where your peace comes from. I'm saying this. My nickname here is Preacher. No one would know me as Ogre. Everyone calls me Preacher. My trash guy, my gas guy, everybody calls me Preacher. It's what I am. But you know what else they wouldn't call me? A naysaying ne'er-do-well that would tell them if you don't do as I do. I mean, good gracious. My ultimate example would always have told people to walk where they're at in harmony with where they're at and to be at peace with where they're at, to get along with the people they're around, to do what they had to do. Anybody that proselytized, boys, anybody that's ever told you that if you don't do as I do, you're going to die, I'm going to speak for God right now. I really am. I'm going to speak as the voice of God. Anyone that's ever told you that is going to hell. And if you'd like the verses from the Bible that I could give you that would show you what I'm saying is true, and I would always start with Jesus when they brung the prostitute before him and said, we caught her in the act of adultery. What shall we do with this woman? The scriptures say we should stone her. And Jesus started telling, well, you robbed your neighbor. You fucked your daughter. You trafficked in prostitution by slavery, and they started to fuck off. So that's the first thing I think that most people look. I'm not even gonna lie. The folks that
ye with no sins cast the first stone.
Right, because the people that do that, I'm not even gonna lie. They don't have good intentions, boys. I can't even say that. Well, maybe you met somebody like that, and they're really over concerned for your soul. But I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you this. They've got a stack of kiddie porn in their closet, yay high, and they jack off while they watch black guys, the fucking little Asian dudes in the ass. That's their problem.
Yep.
And if it's not that, it's something worse. And so they come at you and they tell you these things like they're trying to save your soul. That's a crisis of conscience on the savior's part. I hope that made sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. It's just a case of I still don't believe in the savior in the first place, and I never will. And there's no way of actually convincing me, not unless.
But you do common sense. Do you not save yourself? I mean, you don't. There's no savior for you. There's nothing that you turn to give you.
There's no other person that can save me by myself.
Okay. And so I would argue, even though I don't agree with what you're saying, you being your own savior, but I would argue that everyone has a savior, and I knew that yours would be yourself. You look to yourself for wisdom, hence the name, common sense.
Mm-hmm. But that in turn then means that I would never believe in God, and people that believe that they are their own savior don't actually believe in God, because God would be their savior.
So is it common sense to believe in a deity, or to believe that there is no deity, or is it nil?
It depends. It really does depend on what your actual logic and what your bearings are. If you want to believe in something like that, then that's fine. Me, myself, I've looked at the evidence, I've looked at that point, and my conjecture and my understanding from it is that it's bullshit.
Do you love Christians?
Yeah, I have no dislike for them.
Okay, so do you love Christians?
Yeah, I have no dislike for them.
Yes. Now, well, so do you love Christians? Just yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. CSG, could I just ask? Have you never experienced a moment in your life where something has happened and you're in maybe a dodgy situation, and something in your back of your mind just goes, I need to change this, and it's not something that would have come from your knowledge, but it's just something you can't explain in the back of your mind, just like a voice.
Yeah,
or something.
That type of stuff had happened to me a couple of times, but I don't attribute that to a form of God. I attribute that to myself working out a situation in my subconscious and realizing that I'm doing something fucking wrong and I need to stop it, and then moving on and doing it. Your subconscious becoming your conscience.
I mean, I'll be open and say openly that I don't believe there's a God, but I always say it in a sense of I don't believe in a Christian God. I love Christian people. I think that
I don't believe in a God.
And look, I just want to ask a couple more questions. He did answer and say that he did love Christians. Common sense guy, have you forgiven your mother and your father for their shortcomings in raising you? And I'm not being personal either, brother. I'm not going to even say anything because we all have these things. I want to make that clear. So have you ever?
I forgive my mom and dad for whatever they've done wrong. Of course I do.
Have you? So you've went to them and said, Father, insert whatever here. And now that I'm a man, I forgive you for this. And I would like to be equal to you now. And I know I don't want to interject too much. So you have gone to both of your parents and said that especially your mother, and said, look, Mom, I forgive you for the way it was when I was a youth. Oh, God, I might have treaded on bad ground. I forgot I'm with the Englishman here. I'm going to say that I myself have done that. It's been a rift for my mom and I because she can't seem to get over that one part. But I think that's one of the problems that humans have with divinity is that in the end, a lot of times the parents pushed it on them. And then if they didn't, and people come to them and then they start talking about this authoritarian thing we're talking about, man, they equate that automatically with mom and dad. And I believe it's incumbent, not on the parents, because most of us are going to become parents eventually. It's incumbent on the children to come to the parents and say, when they're adult, and say, look, this is where you really,
Can I?
Wait, common sense. Okay, I'm glad. Okay, he's back. So he wasn't just cut. I'm glad you just cut out because I thought you just fucked off because you were pissed at me. I was like, oh man.
No,
because
I'm not
asking you.
literally just died. My laptop literally just died of battery, so I'm on my phone.
So pick up right where you were at, Common.
Yeah, of course I agree. Of course I forgive my mom and dad for any transgressions that they've made, as long as it's not too fucking big. But yes, I've agreed to forgive them and different things like that. Yeah.
Well, that's good. And so I'm not going to go any deeper than that because of this. I always ask that question because when people haven't forgiven their mother and father for the things that they've done, and again, everyone, parents make mistakes. When they don't, sometimes that transfers into the inability to say Krishna is good or Buddha is good or, God is good. And look, these social constructs, and in this instant, that is a correct term. I don't mean white and black. When these social constructs that we have that are culture. I mean, when I think about your culture, Common Sense, Maz, Quinn, I mean, the whole idea of bearing up under pressure. Where do we get that from?
That I don't know.
It's fucking British. Oh my God. In the last 2,000 years, at least, it's been British.
Can I just interject in and I hope this doesn't derail the stream, but in a slightly different manner to everything you're saying, Mr. Ogre. When my mum passed away, she died in the bed that I was born in.
Oh.
And I went there and saw her body and I kissed her on the forehead and I apologized for being the dick that I was as a child.
Oh, you're a good son. Wow, God bless you. God bless
I agree.
you.
But that doesn't take it.
No, that was good. I'm glad to hear that. I love to hear things like that. I mean, that's good. You're a good son.
No, I completely and utterly agree with you. But the thing is, though, that didn't take any sort of form of religion or anything else like that. That was a case of you knowing that you actually were a dick to your mum and dad, or to your mum at that point, and you wanted to say sorry for it. That doesn't take any form of religion.
Louie, come! Well, it doesn't have to be religious, Common Sense. I always go back to this. I have my strange Catholic crotchet of belief that I hold fast to like a barnacle to a wooden hull, and I won't be moved from it. I believe in what I believe in. Man, I might need to go check. I hear my chicken shitting and my dog just went nuts. I'll go on a cool diatribe with the really eloquent elocution just like I just was. Just give me a second.
No problem. See you in a couple of seconds. What do you think about this then, Mr. Quinn?
Well, Ogre's asked me to come up with a bunch of commandments, and I gave him the 3 that I live by. And while I am fine with everyone else having their own beliefs, doesn't bother me in the slightest. As far as I'm concerned, religion was designed to be a form of hope, to give people something to strive towards. It's a nice idea, but why not follow your own personal morality? Identify your personal morality, follow it, and live with consequences. They are the 3 tenets to what passes for my religion, or at least belief system.
Because that in itself turns into a form of religion. If you tell people what your beliefs are and they start following it, then it becomes the religion of Quinn, or Quinnosity.
But what's wrong with that? If his religion is sound, I think that's the base of what we're talking about. Shit, I haven't even looked at the chat. I hope we haven't lost everybody on this divinity / this is more of a divinity talk. Because the idea of divinity, Common Sense, I believe you, okay? I'm not going to say, like other people have said to you before, that, oh, you can't not believe it. But I'm going to say this to you. In your heart, you find the spark of divinity within. But that said, the spark of divinity that you have seemed to have found, man, I mean, you stand up against the rape of children. You hold fast to your culture and you love your country. I mean, you're a very virtuous gentleman. You see what I mean? So I would argue, and what I want you to look at is that divinity exists. I mean, would you disagree with that divinity exists?
In some way, yes. In some way, no.
Tell me the